Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Can you guys see me? Can you smell me? Smell-o-vision. Why isn't Smell-o-vision really up? Futurama made us think that Smell-o-vision was gonna be real in like 2020 or something. Where is it? Where's Smell-o-vision? Anyway, who was here first? Red. Hi, Red. Hi, Red. Hi, Solaris. Hello, Ruby. How are you, fairy fellow Goonets? What about the Gooners? Not just Goonets. Anyway, I kind of just want to get the game in because I'm excited to play Rhythm Heaven. But hopefully you guys are doing pretty good today. I didn't do much today. I kind of just rested, just relaxed, just chilled. Watched like an episode of anime. That's it. That's all I did. Kind of just chilled. Watched some soccer. But yeah, it's Thursday. It is the second to last day for the subathon, so you know our time together is almost over. I apologize. I will be disappearing forever after the stream tomorrow. If you guys didn't know that, sorry. Now you know. Anyway, that's a joke. I'm not actually disappearing. I'm disappearing for like 4 days because of work. Because I'm going back to work. I'm going back to work on 4th of fucking July. Anyway. It's not even the problem to be working on 4th of July. It's the fact that I'm gonna get off of work like right at firework time. So like there's a very good chance I'm gonna have to drive through people trying to light fireworks and shit. This is gonna be a little annoying, but it is what it is. That's what happens when you work in a business that doesn't take 4th of July off. Anyway, good news is I got paid early at work because 4th of July is on a Saturday. Most people are taking Friday off as well from like major business areas. Besides that, I don't know. I kind of just want to get the game in. There's a lot of Rhythm Heaven to go through, so I think we're just gonna get going. So let me get my butt over here. Yes. Make myself a little bigger because we actually don't need to see the whole screen with Rhythm Heaven is my assumption. Okay. So again, for those of you who don't know, I've played the demo. Love the demo.
Saved data from the demo version of the game.
No, this is actually what I wanted. I did not want them to start where I left off. Because if they do that,
to choose and confirm with A.
we're actually gonna miss out on I think 5 mini games, 4 mini games and a remix.
No.
And my choose is no. Also, let me turn this up because I need to make sure I hear the music and stuff. This AI, not AI, but this Tomodachi Life Ads voice. I actually kind of like it. I wasn't sure if I was going to, but I kind of do. No, I refuse.
Note: if you're using wireless earphones, you may notice a slight delay between the images on the screen and the sound. If the delay is troublesome, you could try using wired headphones to reduce it. Beep.
Beep. But anyway.
Press A.
Do tell me, guys.
Hello, nice to meet you. Beep.
Why the girls sound like AI? Tomodachi. I think it's the Tomodachi Life AI they made. I don't think it's actual AI. I think it's the Tomodachi Life like voice essentially. You can think of it as AI, but it's, you know, it's like they've used it for Tomodachi Life before. Like AI was like a major component in our world. You know, that's what I'm trying to say.
Before we get to the games, I've got 2 quick things I need to check with you.
I think it's just whatever. Like you can call it AI, but it's whatever thing Nintendo's had for like 10 years or whatever.
Please bear with me. It's only 2 things. Beep.
Also, I can turn this off if I want, but I'm not, because I like the fact that at the very end of every single, like, not sentence, but every single like phrase that she says on the screen, she always ends it with beat it. I think she's saying beat, B-E-A-T, like, you know, because it's a rhythm game. Other people think it says beep because, you know, she's a robot. You guys let me know what you guys hear when she says it.
First, tell me if you want me to read things out loud for you. Beep.
Yeah, I can turn it off if I want. I'm gonna turn it on.
Enables it to read aloud the words on the screen. There are 3 settings depending on. Okay, I've set the mode to read the words. You can change this setting at any time.
But yeah, I like the first 4 mini games to the point where I didn't want to like
just one
go through them.
Beep.
Not go through them, but not show them off on the stream to you guys.
Rhythm gaming. Beep. We're just going to make sure there's no funky delay messing up your timing. Beep.
I like when rhythm games do this, by the way.
Beep.
Beep, beep, beep.
Here's where we adjust for playing on a TV. Beep. This will help you play the game properly. Just need a moment of concentration.
Mm-hmm.
Beep. All right, let's get started. Go ahead and press A when you hear the 4th beat. Beep.
Beep. That's why I'm saying it says beat, because you said beat, then it says beat again.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 4. 3, 4. 3, 4. 3, 4. 3, 4. 3, 4. 3, 4. 3, 4. 3, 4. 3, 4. 3, 4. 3, 4. 3, 4. 3, 4. Okay, you should be all set.
Sorry, that's honestly kind of like, compared to all the other rhythm games that I've seen for like their calibration games at the start, it's kind of a bop.
One word of warning though. Beep. It's possible that the adjustment could have a strange effect. For example, you might hear the
This is just saying, hey, your TV might be old and not know how to play sounds when the audio comes through, or when the visual comes through.
It's just something that happens sometimes when we make this kind of adjustment for the TV. Beep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but it shouldn't ever happen in handheld mode. So that's nice.
I like how they say shouldn't ever happen, implying that sometimes it does.
By the way, so if it seems like something's off, you can always try adjusting again. Beep. Okay, let's head back. Beep.
Beep. Beep.
How did that seem?
Mm-hmm.
Beep. If you think things still need adjustment, or if you want to play on a different TV, you can always change the settings again. Beep.
Beep.
All right, see you soon. Beep.
Beep.
About Rhythm Heaven.
Okay.
Play solo.
Play solo.
Stage 1. Welcome. Hoop trundling.
Hoop trundling.
Time for a jog. Keep the beat and jump through hoops. The key? Listen for paw pee poo pay po and jump on the last one.
Pa pee poo pay po. So the first 4 minigames, I dislike this one. This is the only one I don't like.
Let's begin.
But I'm also not gonna go through the tutorial, so you guys get to see if you guys like it or not.
Through the hoops.
I can't skip, by the way.
Watch out. The timing can be tricky.
I just realized. They're not letting me skip.
Give it a few tries first. Press A to jump.
Jump. I get it. I can't skip this. They don't let me skip the first one. Hey. Hey.
See what I mean?
Also, this is hard on purpose.
Beep. Try finding the rhythm with others now. Beep.
I promise I'm not bad at this game. It's just, it's designed to be hard at the beginning. Be like, hey, you suck. We'll give you help. Still too late. That was early. Which one's your favorite, by the way? I like the one that's number 4 in line. Oops. Because he sticks his tongue out, he goes blah when he jumps. Oh, I can skip now. Perfect. Oh wait, I gotta restart because I think this game is one of the ones where if you jump off your turn, you get dock points for it. The main reason I don't really like this game is like the game part of it doesn't really match the song. That's just me though. I don't know. I don't know if you guys feel the same way about it. I've added the frog emote because I guarantee there's gonna be a frog in this fucking game. Bum. But yeah, I don't know. The game's not bad. It's just the song doesn't seem to match what the game part of it is.
Joggers, your basics are solid, and you handled the changes in rhythm just fine. You did well being tough view. Amazing.
Ew. I don't know why they call it amazing, not superb, but whatever.
Brawly good show.
Anyway. I think Brawly Good Show is probably my favorite so far from the demo. Mostly because we're a cute little guy. Amazing. I'm gonna skip this because I just want you guys to see the minigame. Look at the little guys we are. Look at the little guys we are. I don't know. I fucking love this one. It's Cho. Like when they're explaining it to the game, it's Cho when they close it, and it's Pa when they go up.
The flapping was definitely happening, and it was a fantastic finish. Amazing.
This is my favorite one so far, though.
Didn't know how fun umbrellas could
look at that. They're so fucking cute. Look at these. Look at these guys. Look at them. Look at them. Look at them. But I will say the other two minigames on this row or column are also bangers. That's just my favorite one. It's dog. We're a dog picking up discs. Again, I'm gonna skip these because I've done these before, but it's all timing based. This is. Look at the little scrunkly dog. Someone said this looks like Zero Suit Samus and I can't unsee it. Just this gray suit instead of the blue suit. Also, how does she have infinite discs? Also, I felt bad for the little dog. He never picked one up. You did amazing.
Good at the basic catches.
Hi, Lyra. Hi.
You counted in your head when needed, and you could have done it with your eyes closed.
Also, the whole point of that game, you're counting to 7. And the rhythm itself, like the beep, 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 actually is on rhythm. So just count to 7 on the beat and you're good. Why on 7? Lucky number, right?
Feeding the beast. You're hungry, but the plants are in bloom. Munch as much as you can so nothing goes to waste. Yummy.
Yummy. Look at the little guy. Look at him. He's so grunkly. I love him.
Eat food.
This one's just press A. It's very simple. But we got lyrics. How did I miss that one? Also, this sounds like a 90s or early 2000s anime opening. Like a rom-com or a shoujo anime. Like a Tenchi Muyo like is kind of what I'm feeling it. I probably have to read this one, by the way. Not try again, but I'm not gonna get a medal. What do you mean, bro? Is a vegetarian? I mean, if you notice how he's moving, I don't like. I think the only thing that's around are these exploding flowers.
Solid and really good.
Gotta do it again. Really good, by the way.
Is there any more?
You're like him. really good is not okay. It is between okay and amazing.
Remix.
No, we're doing it again. I'm getting the medal. But yeah, like why would he not be a vegetarian? Like look at this fucking planet. It's got nothing on it, and he's stuck in place. Anyway, Lyra, besides that, how are you? How was dinner? What did you eat? What'd you guys all eat for dinner? Or breakfast, if it's morning for you, some of you guys. Hot pot? Ooh. Also, I think it's kind of funny that we went from like the most chat interactive thing ever, building Legos yesterday, to this, which is like the least chat interactive thing you could do.
Great concentration.
Amazing. Whoa. I'm look at this. This is by the way, this is the absolutely Tomodachi Life voice, because the way she said whoa reminds me of, I was watching Iron Mouse play Tomodachi Life when it was the thing, and she made one of the people's catchphrases whoa, BWO, like bro but cute, and the way they said it is exactly the same. So it's absolutely whatever Tomodachi AI they use. Anyway. Which hard candy grew from exploding flowers? Yeah. I hope so too. Also, this remix is pretty good. I just think it's bogged down by the fact that those mini games don't really flow together.
Amazing. If this were a test, we'd say you aced it. Perfect score.
Perfect score, except it wasn't a perfect, I think. Anyway, time for the new minigame. This was all in the demo. Oh, what the fuck are these? These side minigames?
Stage 2. Brawly good Rhythm toy box. Beat spell. Follow the rhythm and cast magic. Cafe. Rhythm toy box. Check out a few simple games that play with Ribbit
Check those out later, probably.
Help the frogs hit new heights. Match the beat and turn that lily pad into a launch pad for your froggy friends.
Well, there's a reason I talked about frogs. I guess it's the first minigame outside of the demo. Get your frog emotes ready!
The frogs are coming.
The frogs are coming!
Press A at just the right time to give each one a big boost. Beep.
Beep. I like how there's no heart, it's the frogs in the background.
Okay. Beep.
Spam those frogs!
Let's try it for real. Beep.
Spam it! Do it! Beep. Thank you, Lyra. There's a big frog in the background. I'm kind of scared. Ooh. Fucking ripped. I like this minigame. This minigame was simple, but good.
From the big frog.
I like that.
You helped the frogs jump very high, and you didn't panic when you couldn't see. You handled the falling frogs gracefully.
They only obscured you for like 2 frogs too, so it's not like it wasn't that crazy like a lot of rhythm games when they do that.
Let's jump to the sky.
Whoa, an airplane! It was simple, so I aced it, but it was good.
Go and stop. 3 cute sports cars
Look,
are cruising the street.
if you guys ever remember
Hit
the
gas, hit the brakes. Try not to make any mistakes.
what store was it? What gas station was it that had these fucking cars with the eyeballs? Like cars before cars, if that made sense. Was it 76?
Congratulations, you're starring in a promotional video for a new car model.
Yo, guys, we're gonna be on TV!
Let's start with a test drive. Beep. Press down to hit the brakes at the same time as the other cars. Oh, and one more thing. Beep. If you're feeling unsure about the timing,
Yeah, I know that.
Alright, now to the test driving. Beep.
Beep.
Press down at just the right time after you hear the beep. Beep cue.
Beep, beep.
Beep.
Got it. Also, it's cute that the counter is a stoplight.
Okay.
Okay. Where's the interesting part come
Now
in?
try accelerating in
Ooh,
time
we
with
get
the
to
other cars.
step on the
Press A
gas.
when the countdown hits 0.
Beep. Ooh, I like this. I like that noise. I like that noise.
Okay.
Ooh, I like this.
Last but not least.
Yeah.
Beep. Let's combine the two and get you used to alternating between them. Accelerate with A and brake with down. Beep.
Oh, that's fine. They're just gonna tell me they're gonna mix it up. It's fine. Oh, that was bad. You could tell because they went, whoa. Francisco. Ooh. Later, losers. Oh, hell yeah, that stuff was sick.
From the video
I like that
director,
one. I really like that
your
one.
braking was immaculate, and you accelerated at the right moment.
I need to relax on bobbing my head though,
Your
because
combos were
staring at the
awesome.
screen above all my head gave me a little headache.
Amazing.
I'm trying to get into the rhythm, but I don't want to get myself dizzy.
That's some really nice driving.
He's got the colon 3 face. They've all got it. And this one just like, the fuck are you going so fast for? I like the screen too. Take a screenshot. Next.
Hop and slide.
Go.
The game may be a little basic, but the developers tried really hard. Please give it a play.
Is that a knock at the person who made the game, or is that just like, is it like somebody's game in the game? What the fuck? Who the fuck is this girl? What the hell?
This cute little game
Uh-huh.
Beep was created by young Miho here for her programming class. Beep.
Is this in universe or a real person?
Let's get into it with some practice. Beep. Press A to jump over hurdles. Try to get familiar with the vocal cue. Beep.
Okay. I know, I'm curious. Hmm? The jump doesn't come immediately after the bone set. I think it's trying to say. It's like at the end of the phrase, the word set. It's like, oh, that not bone set jump. It's boom set jump.
Now for the next action. Beep. Press down to slide under tall hurdles.
Okay.
Like before, try to get familiar with the vocal cue. Beep.
Like these flowers, by the way. Faster? Same thing, there's a little like half step miss. Yeah, a little half step. You pause for that, for both of them.
You've almost got it.
Okay, what's left?
Beep. Let's put both actions together now. Press
I'll
A.
skip that.
Is this a bug?
Oh?
Restart.
What the fuck? I'm restarting this. I was not expecting. I was like, what's going on with this game? Because it felt a little creepy to me. Okay, I'm ready. Had very like Undertale vibes to me.
Is this a bug?
It slowed down on me. What the fuck was this mini game, man? What the fuck,
From
bro?
the developer, Miho.
Miho, what's wrong with
Your
you?
hopping and sliding
I know it's gonna
were
be
so
just
cool.
okay or cool, whatever.
Really good.
What the fuck was this?
Want to play again?
Kind of, just to get the medal, but what the fuck was that?
Pop.
Jesus Christ. Okay. I can do this, but that's what the fuck, man.
This cute little
Miho.
game was
The
created
fuck?
by young Miho.
Alright. I could tell by the fucked up music something was gonna happen. By the way.
Is this a bug?
Fuck. It's so hard because like the rhythm changes. 1 second.
Continue.
I got a package. It's gonna be one of my trading cards. Which one do you guys think it's gonna be? Hololive or White Shorts? Or rather, Uma. What we got? What we got? What we got? It's the Uma box. Ooh, amazing. What is it? 8 cards per pack. 310 types? Goddamn. That's crazy. That's actually nuts. There's 155 Uma cards. The extra types is just like special arts. Anyway, we'll do that next week. More than likely is my guess. Still waiting on the Hololive card, so probably not till next week.
Is this a bug?
I think I got that last one before the game reset itself. Miho, your game sucks. I'm not gonna be nice because you're a child. Please tell me this was a medal.
AWW, you played good.
AWW. Oh no, the AI doesn't know how to say "aw."
Broom broom fast part was so good. Amazing.
Oh no, they don't know how to say words that have multiple of the same letter, like AWW or Sue instead of so good. We got the medal though.
I'm so happy for you.
Shut up, Miho. Fuck you. Get a better game. Anyway, next game.
Stage 2. Pop, don't drop.
Okay.
Things are popping off in this laboratory. But which pop has the most pop? That's what we're here to find out.
Okay. Like bubblegum? Looks like.
Get popping.
Okay.
Beep. Let's work on your finger strength first.
Yo, finger strength?
Beep. Press A to pop the bubbles after they've been inflated by heat.
Okay. Beep. Mmm.
Okay. Beep. Some of them fell, but that's no big deal since this is just practice.
Okay.
Beep. Ready for something harder? Beep.
Maybe.
I mean literally. Now we'll add bubbles that are harder to squish.
Mm.
Beep. You'll have to hold A longer to pop the hard ones. Beep.
Is it weird to me that it's kind of weird they're going yes, yes, yes for the blue one?
Let's pop some bubbles.
Shit. Ooh. I like the transition though. Oops. I honestly, it was kind of creeped out at first, but the beat actually brought the game back.
Senior researcher evaluation.
Not an amazing, I can guarantee
These
that.
coolness levels are off the charts. Really good.
Because like I feel like because I missed the one that was like closed in. What are the ball things? Drugs? No, it looks like it's superheated glass or something. Weirdly enough. Like the way that they're making it seem, it's like superheated glass. This song is a fucking bop though. I let the button go. I'm gonna start over. I don't think that was good enough. I think when it zooms in, I think that probably has more weight to it for the rest of the points in the game. I mean, so I think getting that wrong and missing multiple as well on top of it might cause me to get not a medal on that. Like if I miss just the blue one there. Like maybe it could still be amazing, but I was already missing a bunch before that. Also, I like how long it is. I like how all these minigames are kind of long. One of my biggest gripes with Rhythm Heaven Fever is some of the minigames are way too short. How did I miss that one? Fuck. That fucking transition though. I don't think this is good enough still, but better.
Senior researcher evaluation.
Yeah, no. Still just really good.
This is
I just want to see what the because all of them have like a superb amazing image. I want to see what it is. I look at that wrong. I cannot get that one wrong. That's like the big thing. Everybody shut up, nobody saw that one. Also, you should be spamming the yippee emote because it's confetti based. I pressed it way too late. There we go. Okay. Fuck, too early. Oh my god. I'm gonna start over. That was like 10 mistakes in a row, just way too much. What's going on? I'm not even like, it's not even like delay or anything, I'm just fucking up. Why is this game giving me a treble of all things? That was too early. Of course I missed one of the last ones. Please tell me this is good enough.
Senior researcher evaluation.
This should be enough. Please, please, don't fuck me.
These coolness
Don't fuck me.
are off the charts. Really good. This is my calling.
Game fucked me.
Stage 2.
I was like, there's more text. I must have been like right on the fucking edge of getting an amazing there. Oh, way too early. That was way too early. I was stretching, so I was like off balance. Like visually. How the fuck did I get that one wrong? Why is this giving me so much trouble? What the fuck? Fucking hell, man. Too early. I'm trying to get through with less than 5 mistakes, and none of them at like the transition points, if that makes sense visually. See if that's enough. Like that, I can't mess that one up. I feel like that has like bonus points attached to it. Oh my god, I'm falling. I'm falling off. Okay, I think that was a perfect. It's not gonna be a perfect because you know how rhythm having goes, but I think I didn't make a single mistake.
Senior researcher evaluation.
Fuck, man, what the fuck?
Your foundational theory is strong, and your popping skills are impressive.
God, what the fuck?
These coolness levels are off the charts. Amazing.
Thank God.
More testing is required.
Fuck are they dancing for? It's got to be drugs. There's no way it's like this can't be drugs.
Stage 2. Remix 2.
Oh, okay. God, this might suck because the frog and the card minigame were great. The other two sucked for me. Not like in terms of games. Frog. Soon be a lady. Should have released this a week ago. Happy Pride.
Can't get out of bed. Yeah, I'm saying a mess. Something's never changed. Time keeps passing by. I stay the same. Chasing bigger dreams, people seem to care. I bet what's right for me. It's a heavy and light. They understand how to do it all. Will I ever learn? If I can never seem to look back. Still focus, live this world. Will I find out right now? Driving down the fast road, without a doubt in my way. Taking off, taking it away. I'm afraid, just wait for me. Now I'll be on my own. Promise to keep a smile on my face, because I will soon be a lady. Now I'll be on my own. Promise to keep a smile on my face. I will soon be a lady.
Why was this one so short? That song was good, but that was a short remix.
Notes from the Rhythm League.
What the
You've got the
fuck? Why was that so
basics down,
short?
and
So
Your
short.
technique is solid.
I like that
You got all
song.
the key points right. Amazing.
Holy crap! What the hell?
If this were about someone growing up, we'd say, you're ready to take on the world.
I'm Flowey the Flower. Anyway, next row. Finally, for God's sakes.
Stage 3.
Tomato?
Go for it. Slice and dice kitchen.
Tomato?
Get ready to cook. Catch the veggies that come flying and chop them up. I wonder what's for dinner tonight.
Tomato? I like this art. Very, very watercolory.
Time to prep
Cat.
veggies to the beat. Beep. Let's test those
I've seen this in the
reflexes
trailer.
first. Beep. Catch ingredients with A as they come flying. Beep. Oh, by the way. Beep. If you're confused
Yeah,
about the
I know.
all right, back to veggies. Beep. Press A to catch them. The humming is the cue.
Okay. Got it. Look at the cat's face. I like this. Okay.
Beep.
Where's the some complexity of
Ready to
it?
practice some consecutive catches? Beep. 3 veggies will fly out at once after the yellow one, so heads up.
Okay.
Beep. Get familiar with the sound of the cue. Beep.
Got it. Shit. The cat grabbed one. See that?
Okay.
Hi, Vicuña. Hi. Sorry, I'm a little focused over here. I'm learning this
Time
rhythm
for the
game.
full meal deal.
Little kitty in the corner. There's a nice button on screen, so sorry about that. Ooh. I gotta start over. You get a recognition of. Ooh, okay. Enjoy the beat as much as you can. What?
Continue.
What? Oh, I'm not getting it. Hi, Rusty. Hi, Fudge. Also, why is this lady so caked up? Like, look at her down there when she's shimmying. Sorry, I was distracted. Kitty. I'm sorry, I got scared. How are you? I'm doing pretty good. I like this game. I like this song.
From her hungry partner.
They distracted me with all the
You've got the
the
basics
the
down.
juicy booty
Your
bouncing, but
consecutive
you know,
catches were superb, and your chef's skills
This
are
looks like it's
mouth-wateringly good.
oh baby, I didn't mess up enough.
I love cooking.
Oh, she was cooking for the cats. Wait, can cats eat vegetables? Can anybody confirm or deny that?
Sneezy moon.
What
The
the
moon is
fuck?
cranky and might have seasonal allergies. Try to sneak by during a sneeze to avoid its wrath.
What the fuck? What? Majora's Mask? I'm doing okay though, Fudge. I'm having a good Thursday. How are you doing? I got my Uma cards today though. My Uma white shorts cards.
Only once a millennium comes a night as spooky as this.
The fuck?
Dash across the gap in the fence to escape the moon's ghoulish gaze.
That's cool. Okay, I like this.
But you've got to get your timing right first.
Okay.
Press A to dash right as the
Hope
moon
everybody's
sneezes
having a
and
good day,
closes
though.
its eyes.
Vegetables okay. Citrus is bad though. There was no citrus in there. It was just tomato, yellow bell pepper, and broccoli. So yeah, I think it's okay. A to dash right as the moon sneezes. Okay, got it.
Now try without the guide.
It's 1, 2, 3, go. So far.
Good. Beep.
Beep.
Another thing. Beep. At times, the foul moon's nose won't twitch at all before it unleashes
Oh, shit.
its horrible sneeze.
Okay.
Beep.
Mmm. It's a different face.
Now try without the guide.
Got it. So when it goes, it's the slow one. When it goes, it's the fast one. Got it.
Now, beep. The moon may have other vile sneezing patterns up its sleeve. So
It's not
take
telling me
care.
everything. Okay, thank you. But yeah, Fudge, how are you doing? How's your Thursday? Oh, wait. Oh, it's just faster. Got it. That's the red one, not the green one.
Now try without the guide. Good. Beep.
Okay.
One final warning.
Does that work? I'm sorry.
Pay close attention to how the two types of sneezing patterns differ. Beep.
I'm very sorry, Fudge. Hopefully work ends pretty well. I know now. They're just gonna have me mix it up right now. Yeah, I know the ones, so I'm just making sure. Yeah, they're just making me mix it up. Alright, here we go! Okay. Okay. Fuck a tire? Oh my god. Okay, I gotta start this over. I was not expecting him to go to the double quick one. I like how this song is very like creepy though. Fuck. Asshole. Oh? Okay. I did not dislike this game. I thought
From
the song was
storytelling,
okay.
You were well prepared, and you were not deceived by the moon's tricks, and you hit expertly. Amazing.
I like that. It was really cool how like halfway through they started at like delaying ones. I think that was good. I like that. As a rhythm game, I think that works well. The song, you know, hit or miss.
Crab snacks.
Crap.
Use your claws to stash snacks in the sand. Make sure the left claw knows what the right claw is doing and matches.
Amazing. Crab. Crabs. Crabs. Crab people.
Work together to stock up on
Crab
snacks.
people. Walk like crab. Talk like people.
But first try to get a feel for those claws.
Crab.
Press left and A to use your claws.
Oh
Try
shit.
moving each one around 5 times.
Okay.
Beep.
Okay.
Okay. Beep. Time for some practice.
Okay, this might be a confusing one if they make you practice before even practicing the actual game.
Use your claws to get the macaron to the hole. Beep. Press both buttons at the same time to use both of your...
Okay, got it. Okay.
Beep.
Next one.
Next up. Beep. We'll try moving something with a little more heft. Beep.
That bird's gonna kill us.
Press both buttons at once to get the purple mangosteen into the hole. The seagull will show you the rhythm.
The mangosteen? What's a mangosteen again? Oh, wait. I know what it is. It's, if you don't know, Pokemon taught me this. It's, what Bounce Sweet is, the Serena line. Like, look at that. Looks just like looks just like Steenie or Bounce Sweet.
Now let's alternate between both foods. Take your time playing until you've got the control.
No need. I like how the sand is like ultra realistic. The crabs are just like drawn in. Assholes. That shit off the screen. I pressed it too late early, I'm pretty sure. The fuck? I'm not getting an amazing here. I like this one. I really liked it. I hated when they did the fucking thing covering my entire body, but whatever.
Rhythm is in your bones. You
Wait.
didn't let obstacles get in
Is
your
this
way,
good enough?
and you had more rhythm than I'd expect from a crab. Really good.
So there's good, and then there's also really good, by the way. Really good is like just before. Amazing. Kitties! Anyway, we're going back to crab. Kitties! I like this song, by the way. Very chill. Not bad for a crab, right? Nope. Missed one. Should be fine. Thought I was done. I didn't even press a button there. I'm not gonna lie. It wasn't even late. I just didn't press it.
Thoughts from a passerby. Rhythm is in your bones.
I think that might have
You
fucked me.
didn't let
Just
obstacles
not even
get in
pressing a
your
button.
way, and you had more rhythm than I'd expect from a crab. Really good. Here you go.
I thought so.
Stage
I'm fucking stupid. I'm sorry. Sometimes I just have a brain fart. While I'm redoing this, have you guys seen any stuff from Anime Expo? Because I saw news from Way Forward. They showed off concept art of their next Shantae game, and I'm really excited. Really excited. Might be hard to tell, but I love Shantae. Missed. I think that was better. I think I missed just one, I think.
Thoughts from a passerby. You didn't let obstacles get in your way, and
Oh yeah.
you had more rhythm than I'd expect from a crab.
For a
Your
crab.
technique's top notch. Amazing.
Amazing.
You're sharing your food with me.
Oh, we're giving it back. That's cute. That's really cute, actually. Anyway, we're going to cats
Stage
now.
3. Hop.
Hop, stop, and roll. Oh, this was also in the trailer.
Hop to the right with your doll pals.
Okay.
But first you'll need to get your hopping legs.
Mm-hmm.
Press A to jump. Soon you'll get a feel for the right time to start and stop your hops.
Okay. Oh, it's... What? Oh. Okay, I understand it so far. What else is there?
Now that you've got some hopping in, beep, press right to roll.
There's a roll.
Time
Okay.
you're rolling with the audio cue. Beep.
Rolling. Rolling.
Rolling.
Rolling.
Got it.
Rolling. Rolling.
Also, we're the Lucky
Okay.
Cats. I don't know what they're called in Japan. Is it Maneki Neko? Is that the one I'm thinking of? Is that what it is?
Think you
It
can
just
roll
came out of
into
the
a
top of my
hop.
head.
Beep. Listen to the cues to learn when to jump and when to roll. Beep.
Bounce, bounce. Rolling. 3, 2, 1. Bounce,
Mm.
bounce,
Understand.
bounce, bounce. Rolling. 3, 2, 1. Bounce, bounce.
イメージ通りにどこにも行かないわ別に無理したり我慢もしてないの
3, 2, 1. Bounce, bounce.
何度くじけたって
Rolling.
簡単にへこたれないわ
Rolling. 3, 2, 1. Bounce, bounce.
7転んで8回
Rolling.
ゲラただじゃ転ばないけど
Rolling. Rolling.
地球は丸いと
Rolling.
どうやって気づいたのでしょう
Rolling. Rolling.
私はどんな子でしょう
Rolling.
私はどんな子でしょう
3, 2, 1.
か
Rolling. Bounce, bounce.
Thought we were done.
3, 2, 1. Rolling. Rolling.
That was very cute. 100% so cute. Also, I didn't know where I got it, but like the roll into
You knew
jump
when to roll and
into
when
roll
to
into
chill.
jump.
You kept things rolling
I'm
to the
surprised I
rhythm,
got that
and
first try, by the way.
your technique is nothing to trifle with. Meow.
Meow.
Amazing.
Oh, that minigame just felt good to play.
Roly-poly forever.
Roly poly forever. I like this set. The moon is like the worst one in this set,
Show off your skills in a wild jumble of the 4 games below.
but like I liked this column, I guess, was good. All right.
Bounce, bounce. Rolling. 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 3, 2, 1. Bounce, bounce. 3, 2, 1. Bounce, bounce.
Oh my god. Wait, I like that.
2, 1. Bounce, bounce.
I like that. That's really cool.
Bounce, bounce. Rolling.
I really like this one. What the hell? That was so cool.
Notes from the rhythm lead.
Making everything be in
You've got
perfect
the
rhythm
basics
to
down,
the
and your technique is
cat's
solid.
roll or the cat's
You
bouncing.
got all the key points right. Amazing.
I like that a lot. That was a really good remix.
If this were a talent show, we'd say, you floored the judges.
Yo, Simon Cowell in the middle. He's shocked we did so well. I like that. Next. When did they let me do
Stage
perfects?
4. Things are getting weird. Fruit flex. Flex those biceps and bop the fruits where they need to go.
Flexi?
Don't worry if some fall. There is a mat on the ground.
Flexi. Oh yeah, we're going Hercules mode.
Time for a show of strength. Beep. Press A to flex. Try doing it about 4 times.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
Beep. Let's start with some warm-ups.
Why does that seagull have a having a ukulele or a wooden guitar in his hand? Or
Flex to bounce the
feathers?
apples off your biceps.
okay.
Beep.
They were saying "aball."
Beep. Now that you've got a good stretch in, beep. It's time for more apples. The green ones will come one after the other, so
Okay.
look sharp. Beep.
How are these gonna work? Okay. Saying Pitbull. Now they're saying Fireball. Sorry, that's the only Pitbull song I know is Fireball.
Okay. Beep. Feeling the burn?
Oh yeah,
Now it's lemon bouncing
lemons.
time.
Ooh, lemons.
Beep. Pay attention to the music to get the different timing down. Hold Y to see an example. Beep.
Beep. Lemon. I got it. I get it. I should actually do it. There we go. Instead of on beat, it's one beat then half beat. 1, 2.
Okay.
Instead of one pause 1.
Let's put it all together. Beep. Play until you've got the different beats down.
I like how they give you like an endless mode until you actually get the rhythm. Damn. Wasn't ready. I'm sweating up a storm. I like the song. Minigame is okay, but I like the actual song.
Trainer evaluation. Your basics are pretty strong. Life gave you lemons and you rocked it.
Life gave you lemons and you rocked
Really
it.
good.
When life gives you lemons, throw the damn lemons
I'm
back.
gonna keep
In fact, I will make a combustible lemon. Sorry. Portal 2 got into me.
Alien alphabet.
Alien alphabet. Ooh, hold on, we gotta get this one right first. Yeah, burn the lemons. Sorry, that was acting as Carol now. Oh god, come on. Stop saying pit bull. Say apple. Fuck. I don't know why I can't get through the lemons on that phase. Yeah, just when I started messing up, I knew that wasn't gonna be amazing, so I just decided to start over. Should be better. I think I only messed up one half even.
Trainer evaluation. Your basics are pretty strong. You were locked in. Life gave you lemons and you rocked it.
Yeah,
Amazing.
figured.
Great teamwork, hun. The
Hun?
food's all prepped.
Who the hell was his girlfriend? There's so many people in the audience, so who's his girlfriend? Anyway,
Stage
alien language.
Alien alphabet. You found an alien, but it can only chat if you stick to the rhythm. How very alien.
Yo. Is this gonna be like President Bird from Bits and Bobs?
Try to get the rhythm alien to come out. Beep. Press A and left to call it.
Beep.
Beep. Look, there it is. Beep. See if you can strike up a conversation. Beep. Looks like the alien's about to speak. Be ready
Okay.
to reply to its rhythm. Beep. Try to keep in time with the voice of your friend standing next to you.
Okay.
Beep. Press A to talk, referring to the guide above. The alien's icons are blue, and yours are pink.
Okay.
Beep.
Oh.
Okay. Beep.
Kind of understand it. Where's the left come in?
I think we're getting somewhere, don't you? Beep. Seems like the alien's about to say something else. Reply back. Beep. Press left to talk,
Mhm.
referring to the guide above. The
Okay.
alien's icons are blue, and yours are pink. Beep.
Got it. It's kind of creepy sounding.
Okay. Beep. Let's go over both types of spoken rhythms. Practice for a bit to get used.
Okay. Let's see if this song is a bop or not. We're being abducted. Ooh. Early. Oh, there's a guy behind me. I kind of like that. Not bad.
Friend's testimony. You're a stellar
I don't think I got
conversationalist.
really good. I don't think I got
That
amazing
last
though.
line was just perfect. Really
Why are
good.
they aliens to French? That's true. They are going home home.
Let's chat again sometime.
That is true. They are doing that. They're saying they're actually they are doing the cha-cha and saying home home.
Alien alphabet.
Let's keep going. Gotta get a medal here. Also, I said we got abducted. We fucking got. Who was the guy on the left, by the way? That was just filming us. I love this part of the song. Oh, model's breaking. Sorry, guys. I lost some frames. That's what's happening. My internet's taking a shit for a half second.
Friends testimony. The building blocks are all there, and you're a stellar conversationalist. That last line was just perfect. Amazing. You
Amazing.
two are incredible.
Hell yeah. Also, why does that one guy look like what's his name? Jeff
Stage 4.
from
Things are getting weird.
Earthbound?
Can do.
Can
You
do.
knew this was how recycling works. Crush the cans flat with a giant hammer, so they can make more cans.
I'm gonna be a hammer. Here. Yo,
Crush
there's
the
also
empty
in the
cans.
trailer.
Beep. Give your hammer a few good swings first. Beep. Hold A to swing.
Hold A
Try
to
to get the
swing.
conveyor belt around 4 times. Beep.
Oh my god, you see the 3D effect on the hammer?
Okay. Beep. Time for some practice. Beep. Hold A to swing down at just the right time and crush
Okay.
the can. The frog will be your guide. Beep.
Oh, I don't have to hold it. Not the whole way, that is.
Now try it without the frog.
Yeah, I was holding it the entire time. You don't have to hold it. As long as you are in the middle of holding it, it'll swing regardless.
Got the timing down?
Got it.
You'll need to follow a different pattern to crush this next type of can.
Okay.
Beep. Press A with the frog's guidance to swing down at the right
Come
time.
on down. I always played Reinhardt, so I know exactly what that is. So red cans are that. One, two, five. Hmm? What? Hold on. Hold on. What? Oh. Got it.
Now try it without the frog. Okay. Beep.
I'm confused, but I'm just gonna have to wing it, I guess.
You've seen both types of cans now. Beep. Let's do one more practice round
I
on
need
both
practice on the
sides.
red again because the red did not feel much different from the blue.
Hold A to swing at just the right time. Watching the frog might be helpful. Beep.
Beep. This one I know. 1, 2, hold, bam.
Now try it without the frog.
Got it. Okay. I think I got it. Fuck, literally. What? What? Wow, what the fuck? What the fuck, bro? This one I'm getting really easily. What? Really not? Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm holding it too long. That's my bad. That's what I'm doing. Oops. Why is that cat here? Is he the foreman? That was a relatively abrupt ending, and I probably didn't get it amazing there at all.
You crushed the cans effectively, Ribbit.
I wasn't understanding the blue ones, I guess, during the training,
Really good.
but I understand it now.
You've earned yourself a break. Backup spotlight.
Is that the return? Is that a returning game? Ooh. If that's the game I think it is, returning from Rhythm Heaven OG, right? This song's pretty okay too. Very much a factory vibe song. Like this song is all right. I think it's not as crazy as it could be. Hi, Froggy. Froggy.
Review from a co-frog. You crushed the cans effectively, Ribbit.
Ribbit.
You did a great job with the blue cans, and
And
you hammered at a high level.
oh,
Amazing.
yeah, the half missed one, so we should be good.
Your work was perfect.
Perfect. The hammer went down.
Check it out. You can now attempt a perfect result on Disc Dog. If you succeed, you'll unlock flying.
I have to do this.
Good luck. Disc Dog.
I can get a perfect on this too. It's not even like it's really not that hard for me. It wasn't that hard anyway. All right, let's see how easily I fucked this up now. No,
Back.
it fucking told me that
Stage
before I got it. I realized I got it wrong. That's kind of bullshit though. Where there's like, oh, you fucked up before you know that you fucked up. There we go. I messed up that very last one right at the end, but we got it. You got it perfect. Take a look at flying disc fun of the rhythm reference via the main menu.
What a stellar
Cool.
performance
I'm not gonna
you gave
let her read all that. That's way too fucking long. Oh, the hummingbird gave me a P. I like
Stage
that.
1. Beat. Cafe.
Rhythm toy box? Is that what he said?
Who's got rhythm?
Or was it the cafe?
Beat. Cafe. Welcome.
Welcome.
Beep. This is the cafe. Anytime you feel like you need a little break from the game, you're welcome to stop in here. Beep.
Beep.
And if you find yourself a bit stuck on something, maybe I can help you out. Beep.
Beep.
Anyway, for
Beep.
now, feel free to make yourself at home and relax. Beep.
Beep.
Talk to you later. Beep.
Beep.
Other. Welcome in. Beep. How's the game going for you? Making progress? Beep. It's all about rhythm, you know. The more you can turn your brain off and go with the flow, the better you
I like
do.
that bit of
Or
a
so I hear.
hint,
Maybe
not
I
a
should
tip, but a
follow
tip.
my own advice sometimes. Ha. Beep. All right. See you next.
Wait, what?
Other.
Where was it?
Play solo.
Rhythm reference. There it is.
Game con. Inside. Beats. Notification.
Where was it?
Game. In. Fun facts for all.
Is it this? It said
Inside-
rhythm reference. Remember the remix for Word Comics.
Flying disc.
This one.
Beep.
Doggy.
Beep.
Like how the rhythm, even though there's no text to read, the thing still goes beep. Oh, look at the doggy.
Beep.
Oh, they're so tired.
Contributor. Young Suck in Top Gear.
Young suck. I like that.
Flying.
I like that.
Rhythm.
I like that. Ugh, anyway.
Other. Fruit. Backup spotlight. Pump up the energy in the arena as a backup dancer for a pop idol. Just try not to bump into the other dancers.
This looks very much like the dudes from the original Rhythm Heaven. Oh my god, they are.
Wow, I can't believe you've joined such a famous team of backup dancers.
Okay, but it's not gonna be the same rhythm game, is it?
Your specialty, of course, is synchronized
Oh, wait, it
four-person
will be.
routines that wow the crowd. Beep. How about practicing your choreo before the show starts? Beep. I'd check out the how-to with why first though. These moves are pretty advanced.
No, thank you.
Beep. Anyway, it's time to dance. Beep. Remember, watch your elbows and memorize the start and stop cues. Hit the first pose with A. Beep.
Okay. I'm always going half a beat early. Okay, not too bad.
Beep. Moving on. Time to practice your footwork. Beep. Press left to step to the left and right to step to the right. Then hit your
What the
pose with
fuck?
A.
This is actually gonna
If
be
you
really
need a little
complicated.
Extra help. Hold Y for an example.
Okay.
Put simply, you'll alternate between left, A, right, and A. We'll start with
Okay,
left.
it's just alternating. That's fine. Got it. I'm always like a little slow.
Okay.
Okay, anything else?
Time to put it all together. Press left and right to step left and right, and A to hit the pose. Beep.
That's it? Okay. Got it. Let's go. Who's the famous dancer? Ooh. She's so cute. Like it's a
From the
young
manager.
idol, but I like that.
You
I
nailed
like
the
that.
choreography, and
What the fuck?
you
I
look
like
focused
that
on
song.
hitting
What the
the
fuck is up
cues.
with all these songs
You
sounding like they
stopped right on
belong
time with the team.
in like
Amazing.
an anime opening or an anime ending? Oh wait, it was a medal. I didn't think I did. I guess I only messed up
Thanks for
twice.
bringing the energy.
This is a good one. I like this one. This remix might be kind of a pain in the ass though.
Remix 4. Show off your skill.
Oh, we
Remix
don't
one.
have like fun
Remix.
little things about it. I just
Remix.
realized they all say the exact
Remix
same
four.
fucking thing. Ew,
Remix.
make them say something fun. Alright, this one, I feel like this one has to have lyrics, specifically because of the idol part. Never mind. I don't like this remix. Not gonna lie, didn't mesh well to me.
Notes from the Rhythm League.
Even if I didn't get a
You
medal,
got the
doesn't matter to
basics
me.
down,
It's just
and
I don't. It
your
didn't. It
technique
didn't.
is solid. You
What's the
got
word?
all the key
Meld?
points right. Amazing.
I got it. Still don't like it.
If this were the ocean, we'd say, it's just so vast and incredible.
Big. They call me big. Okay.
Stage 5. Are these impossible?
Flutter speed.
Flutter speed. Catching bugs isn't easy, even with a net. They're just so fluttery and fast. But maybe if you really tune into the rhythm.
Big boobies. Yes, exactly. Big. Big.
You're a seasoned entomologist out doing
Sorry, I
field
gotta make myself
research.
bigger now.
Beep.
Oh god, my mouse is lagging. Like my mouse is actually lagging right now. Why? Why? How can my mouse be lagging of all things? That's weird. Anyway, seasoned entomologist. That means a studier of bugs. It's fine. It
Use
could just
your
mean
net
it's
to catch
dying,
bugs
but I
with
don't
the
think it
rhythm.
is.
How about some practice first?
It could just be if there's just random lag on my computer right now.
Press A to swing the net and catch butterflies. Follow your daughter's cues for the right timing.
Look at her stupid face. I look okay, but look at her stupid face. Look at her stupid face. I look like Tracy from Pokemon, but look at this dumb little baby. Mmm.
You did it.
1, 2, 3 is how you do it.
Now for some jumpy grasshoppers.
Yeah, slower,
Press
faster.
A to swing the net and catch grasshoppers. Follow your daughter's cues for the right timing.
Beep. Faster.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, go. The other one was 1, 2, go.
Now to put them both together. Beep. Press A to swing your net and catch bugs. Looks like your daughter lost interest, so you're on your own.
She likes her candy better. Makes sense. Yeah, got it. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, go. I was like, there's a lot of space not being used, but I see what's going on. Shit. What? I gotta start over, and I guess I lost the rhythm somehow in there. Oops, early. What's going on? Okay, we're good. Okay. I was like, are we destroying the fucking... Are we killing
From
the
a
environment?
catching pro. Your basics are good, and you've got excellent judgment, and you
And
handled that swarm expertly. Amazing.
still amazing. Okay. Okay, we'll take it. We'll take it.
We caught so many insects together.
Aww, this is really cute. I'm gonna take a picture of this. That one's really cute.
Lightning bolting.
Ooh.
Nothing can stop you from dancing, not even lightning. Warp to the beat and keep moving your feet.
We're gonna be dancing with lightning trying to hit us? Okay.
First things first. Beep.
Okay.
You're a tiny alien who can warp.
I'm an alien. Look at me.
Press A to warp. Try it about 5 times. Beep. Okay.
Okay.
Let's add a little danger. Beep.
Good lord.
Avoid bolts of lightning by timing your warps. Beep. Press A to warp right before lightning strikes.
Okay. He hit me. Why is this still hitting me? Hold on. Don't know why that one worked, the other one didn't.
Okay.
Also, they're doing the same chupa chupa that the beginning guys did. The umbrella creatures.
Got your timing down? Now for multiple lightning strikes in a row. Look at the on-screen number and dodge that many times.
Oh. I did it bad. Got it.
Okay.
I was pressing it too many times.
Keep in mind that a number will only appear when there will be multiple strikes in a row.
Got it.
Beep. Time to put your warping skills to the test.
What the fuck? Oh, I already fucked up. This song goes crazy, by the way. That's not what I was expecting. Hell yeah, look at them dancing. I like this one. I like the song. I like the whole thing. The concept of it. I'm probably not gonna get them amazing.
Basics are looking good.
Yeah.
You really focused up.
And the
Really
fact that the
good.
guy looks like Glurp. Oh, peak.
You got set.
Oh. Look at the little guys. You can't tell me that's not cute.
Young Watson.
Young boss simulator. That looks interesting, but we're gonna go back to the aliens. Back to being Glurp for a little bit. Oops. He's all charred up because he got lightning bolted. No, he hit me right at the end. So I got hit, essentially. Half hit twice. Should be okay though.
Thoughts from your buds.
Oh,
Basics are looking good. Way to dodge consecutive strikes. You really focused up. Amazing.
I like that one.
Faster than the speed of light.
I want this guy. I want him as a little plushie. God, I need to ask somebody to make like a 7TV emote of his stupid little side to side
Lightning
dance.
bolt. Young bot simulator. You are a robot with a very important job. Catch the jiggly things and laser the nasty
Catch
ones.
the jiggly things and laser the nasty ones. I'll show you some jiggly things. Okay.
It's time to start your late night shift at a factory. Beep. You're a robot, of course, and your job is conveying tasty plates of pudding.
Okay.
Let me break down the workflow's key points. Beep. First, press down to move your arm. Try it 2 or 3 times. Beep.
Okay.
Okay. Beep. Now try to catch the pudding by moving your arm at the right time. Beep. Line up your arm movement with the voice after the cue.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it. Okay. Where's the nasty ones?
On to the next key point. Press A to fire a laser from your eyes. Try it 3 or 4 times. Okay.
Jesus, those are some fucking lasers.
Laser the defective pudding. Sync up with the voice after the cue.
Okay, so burn, burn, burn is the good one. How's the bad one sound? Got it. Wah, wah, wah. Oops.
Okay.
Got it. It's wah, wah, wah.
Let's review.
So where's the good one?
Catch good pudding. Laser defective pudding. Try it with just the cue now. Beep.
Work, work, work. Just about one. The good one is work, work. Work, work, work. Got it. 3 hits is good. 4 is bad. Got it. Okay. Got it. Got it. 3 is good. 4 is bad.
Continue.
Oops. It starts off way quick. Damn it. Oh my god, what the fuck? Why is this so awkward for me? That was way too early. What the fuck? Oh my god, it's so much faster than it seems. I should just go through it right away and then just, oops, stop talking, but just go through it once just to learn the whole song. Way early in there. Way late there. Oh my god, what the fuck, man? What's wrong with me?
Restart.
Bro, what the fuck? What? I know it. I'm not getting it. What? I was doing it too early, that's why. Still.
Lights are down.
my god, what's wrong with me on these? The
From the
ones that I
line
have to
manager.
match a rhythm, I think is what's getting
You're
me.
doing a great job, and you kept your cool in an emergency. Really good.
Yeah, I figured.
I will learn from this and improve my programming.
I'm not a robot.
Check it
Yo!
out.
Wait,
That
we have to go for this. I will go back to Yumbot, but let's get this one going. Already messed it up.
stage 1.
I like how they don't let you restart because the game has to save that you failed an attempt.
Eat good.
Let's
Stage 1.
try. I think I'm assuming there's probably still 3 tries per perfect thing.
Conti-
Not even close. Okay, we go.
Yum.
Back to Yumbot. I don't know why I don't get that one perfect. It's really not that bad. Way too early. Oops. Wait, I think that's already too many mistakes early on. Let me be honest. Oops. Oh my god, that one I always get so fucking early. Fuck. Fuck! Stop getting half hits. I'd rather just miss. I said I'd rather miss. Oops. How did I get that one wrong? What the fuck, man? What? Holy fuck, man. Why? Bro. Literally pressing at the same fucking timing every time. The fuck, bro? What the
Restart.
fuck, man? What the hell? Game? Tell me I'm wrong. Just tell me I'm right. Oops, so that one was a little early. That one was way early, I could tell. Block myself from hearing it. How am I wrong on that one, by the way? I don't know. I think it's early? No, it's late. What the? I'm pressing it literally on the same exact timing in terms of when it starts dropping. This somehow dropped faster. What the Why? That one was way too early. That's too many mistakes already, motherfucker, man.
Continue. Lights are down.
No, we messed up the last one. Please tell me that wasn't enough to not get me a fucking.
From the line manager.
Please, 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 please.
You're doing a great job,
please, please,
and
please, please.
you were
I'm
fantastic at
begging.
making decisions on the fly, and you kept your cool in an emergency.
Please. Oh,
Amazing.
thank you, God. Oh, I'm not gonna look forward to this in the
Program to be
remix.
excellent.
Oh, the poor Flan was crying in the corner over there.
Stage 5. Wiper bosses.
Viper bosses,
Pitch a wide right on the windshield and don't let the wipers catch you. Just watch out for the rain. It's slippery.
Okay. Okay, what's this gonna be in?
Jump
Oh.
over the windshield wipers.
Was this in the
How
the,
about
the
some
trailer?
practice first?
It must have been.
Press left to make Miss Pink jump and A to make Mr. Blue jump.
Oh, it's
Start
both.
with about 5 jumps each. Beep. Okay. Beep. Let's turn on the windshield wipers. Beep. They'll move after the cue. Time your jump so you don't get tripped. Beep.
Both of them move. Okay, okay. I like the song, by the way. Sounds very Zelda, like old school Zelda-ish. Are we gonna have just one moving at one point? That's not how windshield wipers work, right?
Okay. Beep. Now to speed it up. The wipers will move after the cue. Time your jump so you don't get tripped. Beep.
Beep. Got it.
Okay. Beep. Oh no, it started raining.
Okay, what does that do?
Watch out, the windshield will be slippery.
Okay.
You'll fall down if you try to jump while it's slick.
Oh,
See for yourself by falling.
shit, so you
Let's
don't
say
jump when
3.
it's raining?
Okay. Beep. Now, what's next? Beep. Whoa, the right and left wipers can move separately. Can cars really do
Fucking
that?
asked.
Anyway, jump over the wipers after the cue. The surface won't be slippery after the wiper does its thing, so don't worry
Okay.
about falling. Beep.
Got it.
Okay. Beep. Ready for some fast ones? Each wiper will move after the cue. Time your jump
Okay.
to avoid.
I like this.
Okay. Beep. Now to put it all together. Practice until your timing is solid.
Here we go. Ooh. Oh, I'm not fucking ready for that to start right away. We're mafia bosses. Sorry, Yakuza. I really like this one. This one's awesome.
Thoughts from the underlings. You got the
I
basics
don't know if I got the
down,
medal, but that
bosses.
was awesome.
You didn't bat an eye at that storm. Smooth as silk. You always made the best decisions.
I got it.
You absolutely nailed it, bosses.
I like that one. All right, I think I'm gonna do this remix, and then we're gonna call it a night.
Remix 5. Show.
Ooh, comic book style. Is it gonna be comic book like style drawn? Beautiful, Joe. I gotta start over. I gotta start over. 'Cause I gotta enjoy this, but I gotta start over. Spider-Man, basically. Brother. I'm whiffing? Yeah, I know. I don't get the rhythm of the other one. What the fuck, bro? I don't get the rhythm of that fucking bug one. Not on like this thing, I mean. Holy fuck, bro. This is hard, like actually hard. It's so fast, that's why. Holy fuck, bro. Still getting hit too. Oh my god, bro. I'm not getting the rhythm of this yet. Oops. Let me try to get into it, if that makes sense. Like into the song. god, what the fuck, bro? I am struggling here. What the hell? I'm not getting the grasshopper on this. Fuck. I'm just gonna get the pass. I'm gonna do it again.
Notes from the rhythm
But please tell me
lead.
this passes.
Your technique is solid. You got all
Fuck,
the key
man.
points right. Really good.
Apparently that was supposedly close to it.
If this were a movie, we'd say it
Holy
has something for everyone.
fuck, man. Yeah, it's gonna take me a couple tries, but I can do this.
Stage 6.
Soccer game. I will save that for tomorrow, but let's do this. Oh my god, dude, it's so fast, and I could not understand the grasshopper. I like this song though. I think that was too early, surprisingly. Ugh. That one was way late. Motherfucker. I don't even know if I'm early or late. That's the crazy thing about the butterfly one. I do not know what's going on. Or they both go away. That's the problem. They go away the exact same way, so I don't know if I'm early or late. Fireworks. Okay, I think I'm understanding it a little bit better. I say it, I'm just not getting it. I'm not doing it there anymore. Okay. I looked away. I don't think that's good enough still. I guess I could still just try when I get like a better one, just to see if it would give me one, but I'm pretty sure that wasn't one. I failed like the third quarter of it.
Continue.
Like I was doing okay until the third riff, I guess you can call it. I can't mess up the fucking windshield wiper bosses. Okay, this might be good enough.
Notes from the Rhythm League. You've got the basic sound, and
This might be
your
good enough.
technique is solid. You got all the key points right.
Oh, thank God. You never know. Sometimes they give you all this and they still say like you're just under the qualifications.
If this were a movie, you'd say, I left. I cried. I want a sequel. 10 out of 10.
Didn't take you that long. Like what, 20 minutes? Give or take? Not too bad.
Stage 5. Are these it's soccer dreams. Soccer practice was never this
That's
fun.
cool.
It's a secret. Locked for now.
I will stop here though. Give me a second. Let me go back over here. We will be back with this tomorrow, don't worry. Thank you for streaming. Yeah, thank you guys. I'm gonna try to make tomorrow a little shorter of a stream because I gotta get my mental back into work mode. So yeah, so tomorrow's stream will probably be about the same length as today's stream. But as I said, tomorrow's the end of the subathon. Hydrate? Okay. Thank you. I was a little tense during that. So yeah, tomorrow's the end of the subathon. So it's the last chance to meet the last few goals. And it's also the last day of 35% off 5 or more gift subs. Anyway, yeah, so I will make another announcement during stream tomorrow to let you guys know what you guys are aiming for. But otherwise, yeah, tomorrow's the end of it. We will be done with the subathon and my vacation. I will be back to working and regular streaming 3 days a week. I'll probably still keep this outfit for like a month or two more. Probably do like 2 or 3 months with it and then give you guys the option to swap if you guys want. I mean, I don't know if anybody's gonna want to, honestly. But anyway, I'm gonna go get a snack and relax, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Okay, more Rhythm Heaven tomorrow, by the way. More Rhythm Heaven. But yeah, I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Okay, have a good night. Bye.